There's a part of me that just believes that if I show up in the right way, people will have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that.
I think there's an innate trust again in the power of the music and the power of what the music can bring and the connection that it can bring, that people will have a good time. And how do you know, there are plenty of studies that measure it. You know, for me it was just conversations with people after circles telling me about what an amazing time they had, or how I had one woman come up to me in tears after a circle. She was in her late 70s, was at a festival gig, and she had sat on the back row of the circle. It was like 3 rows deep, and she wouldn't let anyone sit on the chair next to her. She kept the chair next to her empty the whole time, and when anybody sat down there, she would move them. And she came up to me in the end in tears and said, thank you so much for that. It's my husband was a drummer and he died 6 years ago, and he's been in the circle with us the whole time. And I lost it, man. I mean, it was like, and that's an amazing, whatever is going on, whether that's just an emotional thing that she's projecting, it doesn't matter to me. She had that experience and she kept moving people from that chair.
Yeah.
And telling people, my husband is sitting there, go away. And that was a cathartic moment for her. You know, she came back to Future Circles at that festival. That released something in her. It made her have a connection with him that maybe she needed to have since his passing. It was amazing. I mean, just, you know, powerful stuff.
You have the chance. Look, when we're busy, we're packing up from one place to go to another, and we're trying to squeeze dinner in between. But I always try to make time while I'm packing up to be kind of available or free, so people can come up and chat and just say, you know, that was great, or that was awful, I'll never be back. But that doesn't happen much, thank goodness. So people will say to you that was unbelievable. I had no idea I was walking into that. I had no idea I'd have that experience of sitting with a drum, something I'd never done before. So just direct feedback is the best. When I get a chance, I ask people to write stuff down, and you know, you can bring that home and record it and think, yeah, okay. There's just simple stuff like I'm working. I do a bit of work with a victims group called Wave, who I think you visited maybe when you were here way back when 2010, and I worked with a group of around 8 or 10 people over 8 weeks, and they just come in at the start and they have a chat, and at least 5 or 6 of them would say, Friday morning, highlight of my week. I can't wait. I can't wait for Friday morning when we do this. And I'm like, really? This is the highlight of your week? And I'll say, you need to get out more. And so that, yes, there's all the theory, but if someone's saying to me, this is the best part of my week, then brilliant. And then we can have a conversation of why. And I'll say, well, there's people in here I've been in a room with for 10 years in meetings and, you know, book launches and things like that, but I haven't really got to know them. Now, you talk about influences. Actually, I left someone very important out earlier, Simon Faulkner, in the rhythm to recovery work, because Simon got me back into this model where I'm building room and time for conversations in drum circles, and he's really helped me in the conversational reflective part of drum circles. So people saying that they're getting out more, that they don't feel so isolated, that they feel more confident, not just in a circle full of drums or instruments, but with other people, that they have more confidence to walk into a room of relative strangers than they did, you know, 2 years ago, that they aren't afraid to try new things, because walking into a circle full of instruments can be pretty intimidating for some people. And just saying to people, well, if you can do that, well, what else can you do? You know, or what's the hardest thing you've ever did? Because sitting in a drum circle, once we get going, is going to be good. We're going to be okay, you know. So
there's a long list of experience, and we don't have enough time for all of it. But I'll give you a few examples that really have stayed with me, and so from very simple things like those who come in and say, "I come with my friend. This is not really my thing, but I'll give it a go." And the next time they bought their own drum, and they've come in with this drum. And there are those like there's a lady I love who's been in several groups who will get attached to a particular drum and particular percussion, and that becomes her voice. You know, this is how I speak in the group. This is how I make my music, create my thing. She's so happy with those when she's with those. There was an instance in a secure unit. It was a mental health secure unit. Where all support workers were all sat around the edges, because they kind of had a double role, also being kind of security guards, and they looked like that. So the group is here in the middle, and at some point towards the end, when there was a lot more fluidity and warmth, everybody was freer. Somebody just came to me sheepishly and said, "Could I distribute some of the little percussion with them around the edges?" So you wanted to involve them.
Yeah.
And I had a kind of an eye contact with some of the others, and they said, "Yes, go ahead." And I just actually said, "Yeah, absolutely, just go ahead." And he went round while everyone was drumming, distributing this percussion with a big smile on his face. And I said this before, the joy, sheer joy of the group, and I'm moved describing it. I cried at the end of it. Just filled the room and just hit the roof. Nothing went out of control or chaotic. It was just joy, that solid joy. We're all here. We're all here together. And we're all the same.
Yeah.
Our drumming group, we are all the same. We all can play. The support workers loved it as well. They had their moment of play. Very moved by a lady in a group that I ran for people with Alzheimer that were accompanied by some members of the family. And the lady sat right next to me. She was with her husband, who was really terrified because just couldn't orient herself. She was quite scared. So she gradually started to get into it. And this leadership came out that we hadn't anticipated. This kind of, she was so secure in a rhythm and engaging with everybody else. And we gave her a role. We made her we elected it to be orchestra director.
Wow.
I won't say her name, but we said, "All right, well, so you tell us now what we're doing next." And she was going with it and directing us. So this woman, I'm not saying these are miracles, I'm saying there's something about feeling equal to everyone else, to not feel under the pressure to perform or please somebody, respond to someone's expectation. And the rhythm itself that regulates people's energy. I feel that if they need to calm down, they will, and relax. And those that need a bit of a boost of vitality will find it. There is a regulation and the connecting to the others. And also I will add, again, from my movement practice, is the possibility of being witnessed in a positive way, not in the critical way we might have been witnessed as we grew up. To be witnessed in a positive way that tells them, I exist, I am as worthy as everybody else here, and I can contribute, and I can I can do things.
I could start from an episode. A couple of times I worked with in a Parkinson disease center. Is in a hospital in Bergamo, and the director of this center is a friend of mine. It's called Cristina Rizzetti, and she's a doctor, obviously. And she paid a couple of artists, me, Albert, and a dancer, to come in her center to do to offer an experience to the people. And so I went there, and the first time, and we I facilitated this drum circle, and she was facilitating. So it was really a party. It was something really emotional. There was there was a man that wasn't really that couldn't play drum, but he had an harmonica, and he started playing the harmonica, and I started a facilitation, like a call and response between him and all the rest of the group, and then it was amazing. You could see people crying, but at the end, the nice and the funny thing is that people were going back in their bedrooms without, tutors to walk. So
Yeah.
they came with their tutors, but
Yeah.
they were going back on their feet
Wow.
with doctors asking, come here. It was really great. And another experience I did is probably, is the last drum circle I facilitated. It was for an architecture festival in Sardinia. There is this marvelous island in Italy.
Hmm.
Uh, we're in the south, in Cagliari, and it was September 2020, so 2 months ago.
Hmm.
And we were supposed to host 100, sorry, 120 people, but there were almost 200 waiting
Waiting.
to play. Yes, because
Wow.
the drum circle was in a program. So uh, before us, there was a conference, online conference. So there were people in the audience, and there was a big screen with this engineer or architect talking. And in 20 minutes, we set it up, everything, chairs and instruments, and all these people were waiting around. The metaphor is like in Italy, when you are in a wedding, you have to wait for the, for the how do you say sposo and sposa? I can remember. Yeah, for the
Bride and groom.
no. Well, I will say you. No, don't worry. It's when you are in a popular party, and they open the possibility to eat.
Yeah.
You can see people run and run over other people. Okay, and it was the same. They were hungry,
Yeah.
and so a lot of people couldn't. At the end, I set it up, chairs and instruments for 160 people. That is a lot in this
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
And they they sit down and they started playing in a marvelous way. And I entered the circle, in the center of the circle, to say hello, to take an eye contact, you know. And there was so much energy that I went back out the circle crying.
Wow.
And all the drum circle was like this,
Yeah.
because after months of lockdown, of suffering, of feeling alone,
Hmm.
that moment of connection was really great.
Yeah.
Was really something really important. And all the people that wasn't playing remained around there. So I was facilitating things with people clapping and singing outside. And so just to include everyone, because I really was feeling that that moment was important. And yeah, I could tell you a lot of moments like this, also in other environments, in corporate trainings, for example, in team buildings, when you work with people and they come to you in. I don't feel safe in a corporate
Yeah.
environment because it's not my native environment, but I do, obviously.
Mm.
And when you find people that comes to you saying thank you, it was the first time for me playing, doing this, and you can see their eyes shining,
Yeah.
you understand that you're working with people and you are really doing the difference.
Yeah. No, I
And
agree. 100%.
yeah, and it's the same with children.
Yeah.
I've lived moments of uh, amazing improvisation in the flow with instruments, with voice, with children, and and yeah, it was supposed to be a music lesson, but it wasn't. It was really bigger.
Yeah.
I am 20 years doing this, and I have never, ever, ever, ever come out of a workshop and not seen magic.
Mhm.
And magic is the only word I can use. I have seen people, so first of all, on a community level, people have a sense of community, and actually friendships have developed out of workshops, and that's a major thing. People have met each other. People who were isolated have met each other and made friends. That's a major thing. Two, the sense of well-being that people come out of, as in, gosh, that's, they're on a high, or they have this satisfied sense of they've taken part in something. It's a satisfaction.
Mm.
It's a People know that when you drum, it's like something very deeply feel good about it and uplifting. There's a sense of achievement. People will say, God, I never knew I could do that. And like I'll say to a group, group of strangers, I'll say, did you think that when you walked into this room an hour and a half ago, that we would make such amazing music? And they will always say, no, I had no idea that I had the ability to make that music. So what they're going away is they're going away with a sense of, man, I did not know I could do that. They're musicians. Because you see, we're so used to being passive observers of musicians. We listen,
Yeah.
we're watching, but this is an opportunity to go, you know what, you are the music maker. You are the one. And take that away. It's so satisfying people to go, wow, I did not know I could do that. Like me, 20 years ago, I did not know I could do that. That I had the potential to make that music. And I think mentally, especially with the work I do in the prisons, I remember the counsellor saying to me one day, and I've been working in a particular prison for a good few years, and the counsellor said to me one day, I don't know what you're doing in that room, she said, but I'm seeing it in my council room. She said, the men are coming to me. It's a men's prison. The men are coming to me, and she said, their drumming is giving them such a sense of release and calm, and it's a way of releasing their anxiety. So she said to me, she physically saw the difference in the men who were coming to the drumming workshop. So there's so many levels that it works on, and often it's life changing. I mean, I say this to groups: somebody's life is going to be changed because my life was changed 20 years ago, and I've seen it. I had a young lad that came to me when he was maybe in his mid-20s. He came to my workshop, and he was absolutely amazing drummer. And the minute he started to drum, I knew that he was hooked. And he's gone on now to do his own really amazing, powerful stuff. And that's happened to a couple of people, that they've gone on to do other stuff. It's changed their lives. So how can I put that into a synopsis? It's impossible, because it is so powerful on so many levels. I have rarely seen anyone leave a workshop that hasn't had some impact on one of those levels, even if it's just simply a feel good, uplifted, wow, that was a really good fun, or you know, God, I really relaxed, you know, for that. It's so many levels, you know, that it works on, so many levels. It is a powerful tool.
I think I've been lucky to have been able to work with a group of people over the period of a decade, and to actually see how drumming can become a part of somebody's life and identity, and form concrete community with relationships that persist and offer, you know, good stuff to each other once the drumming is over. So, you know, can drumming form community, or does community make better drumming? Yes. But I've really seen that work its way out practically, in terms of people who've been in a state of, you know, profound social isolation, who now have each other, in part because of drumming together once a week.
I actually had one two days ago. I think it was Saturday. Yeah, 2 days ago. I had a mental health group visiting me.
Okay.
They about 16 people with mental health issues. And they've been there for the second time, and some of them have been there for the first time. And one of the women being there for the first time was really not, she wasn't very comfortable with the drum she had. I thought, watching her, I thought she's not comfortable, and I gave some hints how to play, not to play like this, how to flatten the hands, stuff like this. And I thought all the time that she doesn't feel very comfortable with all that. And she was the one who came to me after the drum circle and said, well, I've never done things like this before. I've never done any drumming before. I didn't know how it goes. And it was so liberating.
Wow.
So liberating, is a word?
Yeah.
So, yeah, she just said it was so liberating. It was so much fun, and this liberating was accompanied with this gesture, like she opened her front.
Fantastic.
Yeah. In here we will mix our part of as a music therapist and as facilitators, but really, for me, is even now after a long time, when people do and they are drumming or playing music in community. It doesn't matter if it's in a company or in a community drum circle, and something happened in that person. Meanwhile, he is drumming that, and you can realize it because the skin, the color of the skin changed, the smile, the eyes, something happened, and for me is, wow, there's something very power in music that it's able to transform people without words, and is how music transforms people, not in a big way, in a big sense, but bueno, is the part that touch myself, no? I realized very often that the limits people, when people has realized that there's not limits for himself, meanwhile he's drumming.